very pleased to introduce a good colleague and friend, Mark Zandi.
Thank you, John. Thanks for the kind introduction. I want to thank the Institute for the opportunity to be here today. And I should say, I started the company back in 1990 with a good friend, colleague, a fellow named Paul Getman, and Karen Getman is in the audience. So, and I know a lot of you know Karen. She's on the board of this institute. So, and also my brother. We should give him a little bit of credit too. So it was the three of us. We were literally in Paul's condominium, the three of us, doing John's forecast. Yeah, right. I can remember Paul would get really mad at me, actually more Carl, my brother, because this was, 1990. This is now, that's a long time ago. But we used to punch holes in papers to put reports together, so we'd have these punch holes. And he'd find all these little punch hole things in his bed, and he'd get very angry at that. So those were good memories. So you should know I did, Paul and I sold our company to Moody's almost 6 years ago. So it's important for you to realize that none of this is my fault. I had nothing to do with any of it. Yeah, so I think I'll spend maybe 15 minutes, 20 minutes, give you my kind of take on things, and then we'll have a few minutes for your questions and comments. Let me begin by saying that the economic recovery, which is just a little over 3 years old, is struggling. Growth has slowed, but I'm confident that the recovery will remain intact. It's going to be a bit of a slog for the next 6 to 12 months. So we have to get through a number of fiscal issues, which I'll talk a little bit more about in a minute. So I don't think we're going to go anywhere fast until we get to the other side of addressing those issues. But I do think the economic recovery will remain intact, and I think it will gain traction as we approach the mid part of the decade. Just to give you some numbers to make that more concrete, GDP, the value of all the things that we produce, has been growing about 2% since the recovery began, a little over 2%. That's consistent with a couple million jobs per annum. And since job growth resumed back 2.5 years ago, that's about the rate of job growth we've been getting. That's just about enough to maintain a stable rate of unemployment. And of course, the unemployment rate nationwide is just over 8%, and thus it feels a little bit disconcerting when you have such a high rate of unemployment. Interestingly enough, California is kind of kicking in to a higher gear, particularly here in the Bay Area, doing a bit better. So nationwide, that 2 million in jobs, that translates into year-over-year job growth of about 1.5%. California job growth now is closer to 2%. And Bay Area job growth is closer to 3%. So it's one of the stronger economies. I don't know if it feels like that, like it to you guys, but it is stronger here. A lot of it tech related. As I said, I don't think we go anywhere fast in the next 6 to 12 months, but I do think as we make our way to this time next year, when you reconvene, say a year from now, certainly when we get into 2014-15, I think growth will improve quite significantly. And I suspect by 2014-15, GDP, which is now 2%, will be roughly double that, closer to 4%. Instead of 2 million jobs a year, we'll be creating closer to 3 million, and that'll be enough to bring down unemployment. And I expect the unemployment rate to be pretty close to what you might consider to be full employment. That would be an unemployment rate somewhere between 5.5% and 6% by early 2016. In fact, here's an intrepid forecast for you. On March 3rd, 2016, the unemployment rate will be at full employment. That's a... No one write that down, please. Okay. No, in fact, if you want the time of day, you'll have to buy my book. You'll have to buy my book, yeah. Now, to get to this optimistic outlook, we need to find the missing link. And I only have one slide that I want to show you, but I think this is key to understanding where we are and how we're going to get to where I think we're going to go. The key missing link in our economy is hiring. Interestingly enough, and you can see that here, this shows the number of hires that are done each and every month from January of 05, that's the first month that's shown in the chart, and I'm showing it all the way through the latest data point, which is July of 2012. And if you go back before the recession, back in 05, 06, 07, you can see that monthly job growth was somewhere close to 5.5 million. And I drew a kind of a line so it makes it easier to see. To be precise, it's 5.25 million. That's the number of hires that that were occurring in our economy each and every month in that period. You can see the recession; it slid, not surprisingly, and then a little bit of improvement since the depth of the recession, but not a lot of improvement. The current rate of hiring is about 4.25 million jobs per month. So there's a hiring shortfall of about 1 million jobs per month. Now, you may be asking, well, how can we create any jobs at all if hiring is so much lower than it was prior to the recession? The reason is that layoffs are also incredibly low. In fact, they're at record low levels. If you look at the number of people that are losing their jobs, it's about as low as it's been in the data that we have. So businesses are comfortable with their current workforce, but they're just not confident enough to kind of step up and hire more people. So to see a stronger economy, we have to see this chart improve. We have to see more hiring. Now, a couple of other interesting data points. The shortfall in hiring is evident across almost every industry. There are 2 industries where the hiring rates are back to their pre-recession levels. You want to guess what those 2 are? Energy is one. Who said that? Okay, if you give me your card, I'll give you my book. I'll give you a copy of my book. Yeah. Okay, all right, deal. Anyone want to guess what the second one is? Who said healthcare? Yeah, that's right. There's do not. If you want a book, give me a card. Yeah. If I keep giving out books, it'll be worth about a nickel, and so in a week or so. But those are the 2. Other than that, across every industry, very similar kind of picture as the one I'm showing here for the total declines. The other interesting thing is that if you look across size of business, the decline in hiring is evident from the smallest establishments to the biggest establishments, from the Moody's of the world to the startup companies. It's down pretty much across the board. But the biggest decline in hiring is in companies that are between 50 employees and 250 employees. That's where the most pronounced weakening is. The biggest guys, there's been a decline, but it's not been quite as pronounced. My point is that this kind of hiring shortfall is pretty broad-based across industries, across establishments. Oh, the other thing is regionally. It's evident across the country. There's been a bit more of a shortfall in hiring in the South and in the West compared to the Northeast and Midwest. But I'm looking really hard at the data. It's pretty much across the board.